Hello, I'm Dale Matthews. I'm joined by Mike Jones, and tonight we have our version of the $94,000 question on this copy of a TV guide from
Ah.
1950.
I guess this means I have a chance of finally getting something out of this gig.
And no, neither one of us
What?
do.
I'm not a contestant?
No, buddy.
Oh,
No, okay, but
man.
when I went to the city council meeting last night, I was surprised and delighted. I got our only reward for the show, besides the wonderful adoration of our viewers. There were a couple guys there. I don't think they knew each other. They had just met, I think. And one of them said, "Oh, I know who you are." And I don't wince about that anymore, which is nice. And he said, "I watch your show every single night." Oh, so it's like some of you too.
Yes.
Where else are you going to find the actual news of things that are happening? It's a slow ramp up for the new writers at the Courier. There's two of them now replacing Jim Moore, so that could possibly happen. And I talk to them and I say, well, here's a little bit of background about that, and they seem to be appreciative of it. Sometimes they don't quite get it right. I'll tell you an example. Here's something from the Daily Courier that was written by the person that covers the person that covers the city, and she says, see if you think this is funny, Mike. In writing the measure, talking about the sales tax, the city council hoped to find a solution to permanently fund public safety. Yes. You're not allowed to say that, Jules. You're not allowed to claim that anymore, forevermore.
She can have a pass because she's not part of local government. She's just news. She just didn't get the word.
No,
apparently she was. Yeah, she wasn't in the room when permanent got taken off. Out of the
by a judge.
By a judge, yes.
Yeah. So will I get held in contempt if I call that whole thing wacky? I don't know.
I think you're held in contempt anyway.
That was craziness. When's that judge coming up for a re-election? I started to get information today about who's up and who's for real.
In 16, you mean?
Yeah, not just the positions, but who are they? Okay, so here's what we know at the moment based on my visit to Art Harvey's domain, but talking to nice people there. There are some nice people there. Keith Eck is going to run. He's already put his name in. Really? Oh, there's a lot of surprised people by that. And then running against Keith Eck is Tony Webb. There you go. I'll be running against Keith Eck as well, as a kind of a not as a ruler candidate, as a what do you call that? As a yardstick candidate, not as a ruler. That's already Keith Eck. Okay, and then running for Cheryl Walker's position. Cheryl Walker's not on the list, but you've got Ron Smith. He signed up the first day, and as of just yesterday, wait for it, Lily Morgan from Grants Pass City Council.
Okay.
She's the only counselor who said, no, I sure don't like this sales tax. Okay.
Well, that's points in her favor.
We had arranged, because we're just slightly ahead of the power curve in local news, we had arranged a while back to have her on our show, and that's coming up. And, gee, that's pretty good timing. So, yeah, we'd like to have her on. And she says, oh, I don't know. You might ask me some tough questions. I said, there's a possibility, but we'll be nice to you. But, yeah, she voted against the Grants Pass sales tax, but unless I'm wrong, I think she always voted for the property levy. So we'll find out. That'll be nice.
Yeah, but you mean she advocated for the property levy? Because I mean, they didn't take a vote on that in the city council, did they?
No, I don't think they did in the city council, but we all got to vote on that one because we're all in the county. And I think that she was one of the people, like Roy Lindsay, who always advocates for taxes.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll certainly ask her about that.
Tax and spend Republicans. I've never seen anything like it myself. Okay.
Now, understand Mrs. Morgan's probably watching the program,
Oh yeah, probably
trying
so.
to find out. We're not saying that that's what you are. Okay?
Oh, we don't know. Yeah,
We don't know. We have
Mike
no
sure
idea.
doesn't know.
We're
Oh no, yeah, and you can
pure
set us straight.
speculation.
You can
Yes.
set us straight. Saying, "Oh, that's not what I meant."
Right.
Setting us straight is what this ad on the back of the TV guide says. This is a tobacco ad from 1950, and it's an advertisement for Pall Mall, and it says America's largest selling straight cigarette.
Yeah, and Dale somehow
I
thought that
wondered.
was an attack on gay people.
No, not an
Listen,
attack, but
back in
kind
the
of a
day, they weren't
subtle
even
jab.
calling them gay. They weren't even calling them gay and straight back in
Don, we
those
now are
days.
gay apparel. Yeah, I know
Yes,
it.
yes, but that calling people gay or straight didn't really happen. I don't think really until like the 80s or something.
No, it didn't. As a matter of fact, here was Liberace back in those days.
Yeah.
And he's kind of eccentric.
Everybody just pretended that he's just an eccentric guy.
Pretended. It's so strange.
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
Well, Rock Hudson, for crying out loud.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if people could tell, but Liberace, come on now.
Oh, yeah, no.
He sure does like spankly clothes. I wonder what that means. It doesn't mean anything.
Oh, he's just a flamboyant. He's just an entertainer.
That's what he is.
That's what's
okay.
going on there. No, I was explaining to Dale that straight cigarette, probably in this particular case, since those are Pall Malls, they're filterless. They don't. There's no filter on there. So
what a great health plan.
Yes. Well, back in the day, it was like, hey, do you want the full flavor or do you just want the mellowed out flavor?
Even my father's
there's
day,
your
they
filter
called
or
them
non-filter.
coffin nails. I mean, it wasn't like they didn't know.
And listen, not too much
free.
And not too much before this point in time, all cigarettes were filterless, for crying out loud. They just were. So
now we're rolling our own again. I'm not, but there are people in Cave Junction who are. Listen, talking about military and providing things free, one thing that wasn't free, some of you may remember, is things like $94,000 toilet seats. That's probably an exaggeration, but they were pretty expensive toilet seats for bombers. Why? How could you possibly question your military? There's a famous videotape of an interview with a general in Iraq, one of our generals, and he was asked a question. You're bombing this same road in Iraq day after day after day. That's correct. It shows our power. And they said, well, maybe you could talk a little bit more about that. He says, well, there was an IED, not IUD, an IED, improvised explosive device that was on this road a couple of months ago. And so we took care of that. Great. And so what we've been doing is we've been bombing the road every day at precisely the same time to show that we're punctual. He really did say that. To show the enemy that we're not going to put up with that. Well, one, doing it at the same time every day doesn't seem like a real deterrent. But the other thing is, he was asked, well, could this not be interpreted as a question of impotence because you're bombing a road that has nothing on it and hasn't had anything on it for months? And that shows how powerful you are. Boy, he was indignant. Why, you're questioning your government. Why aren't you patriotic, Mike? Why aren't you patriotic, bud?
Yeah, listen, clearly, people don't want to say bad things about the military, and we're really getting off of the topic here.
We're going to get to it.
Yes, but clearly, there is wasteful spending and poor management within the military, just like there is in every other branch of government. And so the fact that the government contractors have been wasting money and equipment and stuff like that as a result of their getting reimbursed for the products for many, many years, and it's just something that happens within it, and it ought to be looked out for a little bit tighter. But I guess in the midst of war, nobody cares.
Well, like that submarine, one of our submarines in World War II that snuck into Tokyo Bay. Wow! And there's battleships, big fat battleships, and there were carriers, and they were like, whoa! Every single one of their torpedoes was a dud.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, in
At
Tokyo
first,
Bay.
yeah, it's a pretty gutsy thing to do.
Yeah, well, lowest bid contract. So, we were looking at this document yesterday. Mike has it up in front of him. I've got it right over here. It's the Emergency Management Performance Grant, and we're going to revisit that a little bit today. Now, this is going to cost the county, according to the documents, all the documents, it's going to cost us $94,000.
Right.
Okay. And one thing that we're bringing you exclusively, I mean, we try to bring you news that nobody else has. You're kind of counting on that, I think, is the top of the page says that this comes, I think it comes from the federal government down through the state, down to us. But the top of the page says Oregon Military Department.
Mm-hmm.
Military Department? Really? I know we're the only ones to point that out. Oregon Military Department.
Yeah, and I have to wonder, are they talking about the Oregon National Guard? If they are, they're not pointing that out very specifically here.
No, not at all.
Or perhaps it's a branch of a federal military installation known as the Oregon Military Department. It'd be nice to get some clarification on what that really is, because I think, I mean, this whole emergency management performance grant thing is a little bit suspect to begin with. And so, we would like to have more information about, what is this money being spent for? Who is it that is administrating it? What department? What the Oregon Military Department? What are they doing in Grants Pass in Josephine County? And how are they, in conjunction with the county, sucking up, a couple $100,000? That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more trusting of some parts of the government, including our local government, than some people are. They think everything they do is evil. I'm not convinced everything they do is evil, but I wonder when we're going to go to the videotape here soon. I wonder when we're getting such strange responses. The clue to everybody: first, follow the money. That's the most basic clue of all. But the clue to everybody is whenever you start getting answers and it comes around where you're going, that's a strange thing for them to do. Aha, there you go. What does that mean? Why are they doing a strange thing? So you'll hear what we're saying, and then you figure out, oh, those guys are just conspiracies. They're tinfoil hat guys. They don't know what they're talking about. Well, it's certainly possible we get this. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what to say. There's a reason you don't know what you're talking about, because they're not telling you. So this came up.
This is the document, by the way, just so you know. And it says, I mean, the headline of it's Oregon Military Department Office of Emergency Management Performance Grant. And it says right at the top of it, $93,715. Okay.
Right.
So that's what we're getting from them. But it only costs us $3,000. Isn't that great?
No, I don't think so. Even though that ended up on KJO. Well, okay.
Yeah, it did.
The fact that it was on KJO should be enough to make you go, oh, no, this is probably not right. Because when was the last time they got a story right? I don't mind saying that. Okay. So here's the project description and budget. Okay. It says the fiscal year 2015 Emergency Management PG performance grant focuses on the development and sustainment. Okay, I like developed and sustained things of core capabilities, right, as outlined in the National Preparedness Strategy. Okay, I don't know what that is, and they're not explaining it to you, and we will not be explaining that to you, but particular emphasis is placed on building and sustaining, good, capabilities, yeah, that address high consequence events, okay, that pose the greatest risk, yes, to our bridges, no, to our flooded plains, no, to the security and resilience of the United States. And from the Oregon military capabilities
Listen, I'm in favor of the security and resilience of the United States. I just want to know specifically, what is it you're talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
So here, right next to me, you'll see it says there is a 50% cash match requirement on this grant. Now, when you hear there's a 50% cash match requirement on this grant, that means they put up 50% and we put up 50%. How much do they put up, Mike? 50%.
Right. Yes. And
we have to match it with cash.
Specifically,
right. And it's a requirement.
$92,715.
And there's a 50% cash match requirement on this grant. So it couldn't be clearer. Grant funds say $93,715. That's why I call it the $94,000 question. Mm-hmm. Match funds, that can't be more clear than this, you guys. $93,715 for a total budget of $187,430. And then they list some things like personnel and supplies and what they want you to spend it on. Okay. And then the total grant plus match, $187,430. So, sorry to be so pedantic, but you're going to hear many different numbers on this. Grant funds, $93,715. Match funds, $93,715.
Right.
I'm not quite sure I want $94,000 coming out of our general fund, unless we know what it's going for.
Yeah, for what? Well, here's an interesting thing. This is what Kjo said. In other business, the board approved an emergency management performance grant of nearly $94,000 for the county's emergency work plan activities. The grant is an annual reimbursement for the emergency management department, and cost the county just over $3,000 in matching funds.
What?
So Commissioner Cheryl Walker said the grant monies are used in planning for major local emergency or disaster. She called it a very good investment.
She did. And that guy was there. I haven't seen him in many meetings, but he was there dutifully taking down what she said. Now, your first clue is, this is Cheryl Walker's version. Second clue is, there's no documentation for this. There's no documentation. There's no documentation. Okay, is it a benign plan? It may be. But at this time when hardly anybody believes these guys, I believe Cheryl and everything she says, just ask that guy at the sneak preview. Why, she's the best ever. Well,
and I think
what?
It was clearly very confusing the way she put this.
At least that, yeah.
Yes, and so we are going to parse the living kabutsky out of this, and then we're going to try and figure this out, because listen, the guy from Kjo clearly got a false impression of this. Either that, or everything that we have studied about it since this took place is completely wrong.
We've got a number of people who are going over this. I mean, all we have is the documentation. We have the documentation and the commissioner's record for honesty and transparency. And so that's why we're looking at the paperwork. If there's 84 other sources, we'll point out 83 of them, would you? Or at least one of them, 8 of them, 3,075, whatever, any of them, because none of these things, I'm going to give you one more thing before we start showing the tape. You may recall, we've talked about this before, there was a point at which Cheryl Walker was asked, how come you're doing it this way? And she comes out with a quote. She's got the page. She's got the reference number. She's got the document. It's all right there in front of her. And she's holding a piece of paper and reading from the piece of paper, doing her little lecture that she does with citizens who don't understand anything. And she's saying, you can find it right here. So did they think nobody would go look? I did. And it wasn't there. In fact, I did a Google search.
But she said, I'm sorry, you may have dropped out for a second. What was it that she was referencing? She was saying, I'm reading this from the blah, blah, blah. What was the blah, blah, blah?
Well, I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact, but she says it's from the state rules, and this
some
is where
OAR
to find it.
Or something.
Right, OAR, Oregon It's not Oregon revised statutes. Why do they call it revised when it's 2 weeks later it won't be revised anymore? OAR, Oregon
What?
antelope rules,
All right,
whatever.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
So,
right.
so sorry, guys. So you can send us an email. We've gotten our first couple of emails from people saying, "Yeah, you're great." Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
all right, there it is. Yes.
It says Bad County at cpros.com.
At cpros.com.
Right, CPROS.
Right.
So she's reading from this, and I guess she must have figured that nobody would go back and look at it. Well, I did a Google search after that because I couldn't find it. I looked through the whole document. I looked on the page she said to look for, and had the right title, and it had some words that sounded like it was talking about that issue, but it didn't back her up at all. So I did a Google search on her whole sentence. There is no sentence in the history of mankind or throughout the entire universe of Google that matched 3 words of what she just said. I think it was of and the. That was it.
Yeah.
Well, she made it up. And when you do that kind of thing, that's not good, you guys. It's just not good to just completely make it up and say, there you go. No, there you don't go. Okay, so let's watch the videotape. And they go into it, and they've been asked a question. Well, did you really apply for this grant when you said that you did? Because when you look at the signatures on it, the signatures are all well past the date that you have to put it in. And when you submit something, you have to sign it. You can't just submit it anonymously. So all of the sign dates were way past. This probably means that that we just didn't see those documents at all. And I personally think it's a mistake to say that, because they're going to seize on that instead of the real issue. Well, let's spend half of our time talking about when it was signed. That's not the point.
Yeah, I don't think it's the point either. I think it's Cheryl's confusion about what's going on with this grant and how much money it's costing the county, and whether or not, based on her knowledge of it, she should be taking a vote on it at all.
I don't think she should be voting, but you also got to watch Keith Hick. Okay, here we go.
Chair, I move that we approve items 3A and 3B on the consent calendar. A consisting of minutes, and B consisting of the Emergency Management Performance Grant, CFDA 97.042, grant number 15-517.
I'd rather have the discussion about, I'll second that, but it's important that we review item B. I think there was a question about it, and making the distinction that this is receiving the monies, that the application was filed on time, that this is just fairly procedural in accepting the award.
Yeah, this isn't the first year we've received it. We've received it before. It is a continuation of a grant that we get for our emergency management program.
Okay, that's benign, isn't it? And you can see that what I put down there for Mike and me and all you guys is I put a capture from the actual document itself. Oh, I could have screwed it around and done this, but all I wanted to do is make sure that you could see that it said clearly on there, this is a 50% match, and 93,000 whatever, and 93,000 whatever, almost 94,000. It's crystal clear. And there isn't anything later where it says, well, actually, we wrote that, but we didn't mean that. We meant this other thing. We meant 11 other things. No, it's all the way through the document. Okay. So when you see that at the bottom, that's the actual page. Go ahead, Mike.
The other thing about the money that comes in from this program is trying to make it sound like it's a horrendous burden to us.
No, wait a second. Is that really necessary? I mean, nobody said that this is a horrendous burden to, well, it's $94,000 out of our general fund, right. So that's not so good. But she's trying to paint some of us, I didn't say this, but she's trying to paint some of us as saying, well, you're saying it's a horrendous burden. Nobody said that.
It's $94,000. What is it for, please? Just explain that to us.
That's all.
And listen, throughout all of their discussion regarding this grant, no one said what it was about you know, they said, oh, well, you know, I mean, they gave the description that Dale read earlier, which was straight out of the weekly business session agenda. But there isn't an actual explanation of who's this money going to, what's it being spent on. Listen, you've been doing it for years. Certainly you can tell us, don't you, check up on that. How's that going? You know, that $94,000 we've been giving you every year for the past 10 years or whatever. How's that going? What are you doing with it?
It's very similar to this new ordinance and the last ordinance, the one that was defeated by 80% vote. Well, you can find the details in the addendum. There's no addendum. Well, go look in the appendix then. There's no appendix. Well, you'll just have to trust us. No, not based on your track record. And maybe this is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And if it's so wonderful, tell us. Well, you never report about the wonderfulness. Tell us the wonderfulness and we'll report about it. But you're not telling us, are you? Why would you not want everybody to know?
Well, and we're not supposed to be concerned about it, although and have you noticed that they've stopped doing this where they tell us that we're on the edge of the fiscal cliff, that we're hanging by our fingernails? They used to tell us that every week. Now they never tell us that because they know we're going to throw it back in their face and say, hey, well, what about this? What about this? What about that? You're saying we're falling off the cliff. Why are you spending money?
Now,
so now they're spending $94,000, which is, listen, it's a large percentage of what the total outlay is every year. So if you're going to spend $100,000, can't we know what that's about? Can't we know what?
All right. As Art Harvey said, question your government, you're morons. If you question, bomber seats, then you're unpatriotic. If you question the bombing program that doesn't make any dang sense, why, then you just don't understand economic development, Mr. Matthews. Well, we're going to question it anyway, even if you don't like it. And they don't like it. Okay, well, you can trust us. We know what we're doing. When are we going to see proof of that? Okay, that's maybe a little too far. But my point is, just tell us. Where's your good news? Tell us the good news, and we'll tell everybody about it. You also got to watch Keith Eck in this, because Keith Eck is the one. This was Cheryl's suggestion. They chose Keith Eck now to be the dispenser of all truth for the government, for our local government, because Keith Eck is the most likely to say, you're getting excited about nothing. There's nothing here to see. Whatever you think is, you've heard him say this, whatever you think is the best thing to do, that's what we're actually doing. Even though it appears like we're doing something that's stupid, we're actually doing, what do you like best? Well, I like this. Okay, that's what we're doing. No, Keith. And does he look like he's alive in this meeting? He doesn't know. You'll see him at some point say to Simon here, well, will you explain it? And Simon says, well, I just did. Well, why don't you tell us more? He says, I'm not even the liaison. You'll see. This is fun. Go ahead.
The county has to come up with $3,327 as a match.
Play that again and let it run, because I put it on a pause so we can talk over the number and look at the number while they're talking. Go ahead, Mike. Play that.
Has to come up with $3,327 as a match. And for that, we are able to access all federal information, federal programs. We have a person who can manage that for us. And I guarantee you, for $3,000, the very people that are complaining about it would be the ones that would be calling wanting assistance if there's a flood or an earthquake or any other kind of natural disaster or a situation where we need to have emergency assistance. And if we don't have these plans in place that these work on, we would be pretty much out of luck. So,
pause.
Very, very good investment.
Okay, pause. Where we can see the number.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
I tried to set that up ahead of time. Apparently it didn't work very well. Sorry. I'd had like 15 seconds of a still frame. Okay, so now look at the numbers at the bottom, everybody. What does that say? Mike, I know it's pedantic, but read what it says, please.
It says there is a 50% cash match requirement on this grant. Grant funds $93,715. Match funds $93,715. Total $187,430.
Now, where in God's name does she come up with $3,327? Now, so what I did is I went back and I looked through the entire document. It's almost 20 pages. I looked through the entire document. I searched for $9, came up several times, 93,715. I searched for $1. Surely it came up because that's the total. I looked for $2, 3, 5, some. No, it's not even there. So I looked for 3,000. Not there. I looked for 327. It's not there. This number comes out of nowhere. What is she doing? You can believe
I
us,
don't know.
but it's based on nothing. It sounds specific. You know, Mike and I, we were once, we've been to a couple of meetings of different groups, and I've mentioned this to you before. There was a guy in one of these groups that I went to, I saw him, and he was explaining in great detail how he did not understand, this is going way back, you guys, he did not understand the people who had questions about Kennedy's assassination. Didn't understand it at all because, as it clearly shows on the film, the Zapruder film, you can see the guy sitting right next to the president who pulls out a revolver, places it to the president's head. I'm not making this up, and pulls the trigger.
God. Yes.
Well,
well, wait a minute. I'm looking right here, and I see it says $3,327.
Where'd that come from? The Zapruder film?
I don't know. The Zapruder film. Yes. Maybe we should, perhaps we need to get some more astute people in here to analyze this.
Okay. All right. So if we're not going to just believe her because you must believe all your politicians, I don't believe these guys now. It's based on history. If we're just supposed to believe her, just show us the documentation. That's all. Just like she did with that piece of paper. Well, you'll find it right here, except that's not happening. It's not in the documentation.
Right. Okay. And now, wait a minute. If Cheryl does not understand that $93,000 is needed and not just $3,000, then she shouldn't be voting yes or no or anything on this because she doesn't know. Now, is she lying about this amount? I doubt it because that's too easy to find out. Is she?
She did before.
Is she just, an idiot and hasn't, no one has explained. I mean, this has happened every year. And this is, her coming up on her 4th year here, for crying out loud. If she does not know that this is a 50% match fund on this, then what is she doing? And she has voted on it 2 or 3 times without knowledge that it has cost the county almost $100,000 as opposed to $3,000, as she has said.
Okay, look over my shoulder here, and you're just going to have to take part of what I'm saying. Take it with a grain of salt, as she says. I looked at all these numbers where the state is saying you can spend exactly this amount on this, like 1,200. Well, that's not exact, is it? Okay, you can spend $7,050 on travel, $7,000 in travel. You could spend 129,884. That's pretty specific on personnel. I took all of these numbers and I tried to come up with all of these numbers. I tried to come up with anything 327, anything 27, anything 7.
Yes. No, this is clearly, this is clearly a problem with Cheryl. She doesn't understand something about it, or, I can't believe that she would intentionally try to pull the wool over our eyes and have us believe that we're only spending $3,000 as opposed to $90,000 more than that. That just doesn't make any sense at all. And so
it's so specific.
It's bizarre.
Okay, now what happened earlier in this meeting? I'm going to try not to make a big deal about it because it involved me. But I had said that that Cheryl Walker, I was paraphrasing Cheryl Walker, that she had said something about firefighters. And she repeated my statement just a couple minutes later. Now, you know me a little bit from watching this show. put your litmus test on this to see if a sane person would say this. She's quoting me now. Mr. Matthews said, all firefighters are pedophiles. There's nobody in their right mind who would say that. I'm going to get up at a public meeting and say, all firefighters are, don't edit this, all firefighters are pedophiles? No, wait, I'd be laughed out of town. But she
do we have the tape of that loaded here?
Well, we had one yesterday. Okay, but here, yes, there's a tape of that. So here's my point. Yes, there is.
No, I'm just asking you if it's part of the reel that we have tonight.
Oh no, it's not part of this reel
because this stuff catches me by surprise.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
So that you get my most honest reaction to it.
Yes, that's his most honest reaction as opposed to usual. So my point is that if I would be insane, you have a neighbor over for dinner and he says, by the way, all firefighters are pedophiles. You might kind of say, whoa, now, wait a minute there, Uncle Fred or whoever. That's crazy.
Show me the math on that one.
Right. Or even better, let's suppose he goes over to Mike's house and he says, Mike, I'm going to quote your wife here. She just told me, and he's dead serious, that all firefighters are pedophiles. Now, are you going to boot the guy out of your house? What the? And she's
I'm going to say, well, I'm going to give you an opportunity to withdraw that statement because I know for a fact that my wife wouldn't say something stupid like that.
Even if I thought it was true, which I know it's not, all of them, I wouldn't say it at a public meeting. I wouldn't talk about the Zapruder tape guy. No, I'm not going to do that. So why does she get away with that? She was quoting me incorrectly, wildly incorrectly. My theory is it's insanity. I mean, it's if I would be insane for saying so, and someone would be insane for saying I said so, then that makes them 100% sane? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think if we're going to make that case, we ought to have those two pieces of tape side by side there.
No problems.
Pretty
no problems. Okay, so we'll go ahead with the 3,000 plus here, and Cheryl's defense of her numbers that nobody can justify or verify.
Address the 4-month delay that appears to be.
I did. It was applied for on time. This is receiving the money.
I want to clarify that.
Yeah, this isn't my liaisonship, so it's not my responsibility to explain this. But I think that it can be easily misconstrued that 4 months later, that's the federal timeline for when these awards happen. So it's very consistent. It doesn't happen the day after we apply for these. It probably trickles through the state. It takes a little bit of time. This does obligate us, I'm sure, in some respects to federal guidelines, like every federal dollar that we ever receive requires, from public works to public health to emergency management. But it's the alternative between us using more general fund dollars that are extremely limited, and frankly, we have a high cost benefit analysis that says we'd rather contribute those dollars to deputies on the roads and sheriffs, officers in our jail and our juvenile shelter, rather than spending general fund dollars on something where there's federal money that you guys paid, we all did, to the federal government. We're getting our fair share back, probably not as much as we could if we could contribute more general funds.
Oh, even more, huh? Okay.
Wait a minute. Is he meaning that if we decided to give them more money, that they would give us more money too?
I don't know what the heck he's talking about, Mike, and he didn't challenge this thing about the 3,000 something.
Yeah, why didn't he? I mean, he obviously felt like, hey, I have to clarify this thing that this person.
Keith can't clarify it.
No, but what I'm saying is that he obviously felt somehow obligated to make a clarification on the part of Cheryl. Isn't Cheryl the liaison to this department? Then if he was going to correct her on something simple like the timeline situation there, why didn't he correct her huge snafu on the amount of money that the county is putting up?
He's going to explain that in a second. He's going to explain that in just a second because his computer is updating. It doesn't take somebody their computer to update to find out that when you subtract this from this, it just doesn't end up that way. It's impossible. It's like when the previous sheriff was telling us that 9% of the homes in Josephine County had been broken into. Listen, buddy, I mean, there's certainly numbers, I don't know what they are, but 9% of the homes, you couldn't get insurance if that was the case. And he later came in very quietly, put a piece of paper down in the lobby and left the commissioners to explain that it was all false. Well, there's a brave sheriff, buddy. Okay. Oh, I like that sheriff. Yeah, but this was not true. And it was obviously not true. I remember some guy lit into me. You don't know because you're not there robbing them. No, wait a minute. Does it make any sense? I'm just asking a question. Does that make it? You don't know. You don't know. You don't know. Does it make any sense? Well, that guy couldn't figure out what makes sense. But the point is, this just doesn't. Maybe all of this is completely legit. I'd like to believe that it is. And I'm a little concerned about the Oregon Military Department being involved with things like securing bridges and all, and who are they securing them from,
and you know, Dale and I discussed this a little bit before the program, and we were having this discussion. You know, don't you come off a little bit tinfoil hatty if you go into this thing and go, well, you know, yeah, see, it's a conspiracy. They're going to try to blah blah blah.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Right. And so we decided that, of course, you know, it does seem a little bit like that. However, don't you want a little bit of clarification? Like, what does this mean? What does it mean the Oregon Military Department is the other party here that's mentioned specifically in this particular grant that's obviously going to be working with the county? We're going to spend $200,000 in this county this year in a cooperative effort between the county and the Oregon Military Department.
Really?
What does this mean? What does this mean, and what are they doing? And they've been doing it every year to us. Yes. They've been doing it for the last 10 years, which means they've spent a couple of $1 million on this.
Well, I will tell you, if there's a fire or a lost kitten, those people will be the first ones there saying, hey, you know, where's... She does this a lot. What she'll do is she'll say something like, she sets it up. She'll say, now listen, I had people come and say to me, you should solve this problem. And she said, well, we'd like your help. This is her version because she's so reasonable, you see. We'd like your help. No, I'm not going to help you. Why? That's up to you. You just do it on your own. Nobody said that to her. What, are you kidding me? Well, that makes people look stupid. Of course it does, because that didn't happen. Nobody said that. Well, I've had people come to me and beg me not to have a voter's pamphlet. Nobody came to you and begged you not to have it. Well, I don't know, maybe Pat Bath from the Democrat Party, but nobody's begging you for no voter's pamphlet, and you didn't listen to me. Well, you didn't get that one, did you? 80%. She's always setting this stuff up like, well, you know, people, they come in and they say the most outrageous things. No, they don't. Look at me. Do I look like I'm telling you outrageous things? No. We just
I don't think it... Dale's the only outrageous person.
Yes, I am.
Saying that outrageous stuff, shaking my fist.
She was really very angry when I pointed out what she had said. It had happened like 30 seconds, 2 minutes before that. Everybody heard it. I wasn't happy with the commissioners because they're sitting right there. If you're sitting right there, the first thing you should do as Simon Hare, because maybe Keith is asleep again, you know, with his eyes open. Simon Hare should say, you know what? No, that's Cheryl. We just heard what he said, and you didn't quote him correctly. That's wrong. That's all that he would need to do. He's never done that I know of. Keith Heck could say, you know, I'm from the Gospel Rescue Mission. You can't say that kind of stuff about anybody, even if you don't like them. He didn't do it either. Why are they not saying anything? They're sitting right there. Well, let's see what else Cheryl has to say about this. It's not making any sense.
I do understand that. I think there's maybe I'm misunderstanding this grant, but in other grants, there's more money that is necessary from the county to do a match. I could be thinking of a different grant, but it's usually 50 cents on the dollar.
But you're going to vote on it anyway, Simon. What are you doing?
Well, but he seems to be expressing some doubt as to whether it's 93,000. Maybe it is what Cheryl said. I think, normally it's a little bit more than this. Why didn't he just say, if he knew, maybe he didn't know either, in which case, why is he voting on this? This is the point. If these people actually think that the county only has to spend $3,000 of our money on this, which is, I agree, is a pittance, but maybe that's influencing their decision to vote yes on this. If it is, if these people really don't know how much money they're spending, they shouldn't be voting on it. What the hell?
I'm questioning it. Keith is sitting there like a lump. He's not saying anything.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? Well, you already know what happens when you have questions for your government. You're called morons. Well, these guys are not supposed to be morons. They just play one on TV. No, that's our role, Mike and mine. Look, the point is that
speak for yourself, buddy.
Yes, right. At least he said "buddy" and not what he usually says. Look, the point is that that we'd like to know. And people came up and they didn't say, "You clumsy." No, they weren't calling them names. That's what Keith Heck does. We'd like to know how this money is being spent, and we're not going to find out. They voted already. This was on the consent calendar, which means they don't really even have to talk about it. They just did it.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, they voted on it right after they gave this disjointed explanation of how much money we were going to spend.
How much money are we spending, Mike?
I believe it's $93,317 or somewhere thereabouts.
That's what the document says, and we'll pull that document up for you again. And you can go look at the document. You could send us an email if you don't want to do that. Oh, it's too much work. Okay, send us an email. We'll send you the link. You can go look. Well,
here it is right here.
Right. But it's not exactly the same. You should look at it for yourself, okay? The point is that it says it very clearly. And if that's not the case, then show us the 11D7 other documents that explain what it actually is, okay? Don't just expect that you're going to be able to say it and we're going to believe Cheryl Walker. Even the other two are like, Keith says nothing, Simon has a question, and everybody in the county is supposed to trust what Cheryl's telling us?
Right, and by the way, if you'd like to know where to get that document, you go to the Josephine County's website, go to the commissioners page in there, and the weekly business session documents should be there. And the last weekly business session, that was yesterday, the 21st.
Wow.
It's in those documents, so you can read it for yourself. And if you have any opinions on that, you can write us at badcounty@seatpros.com.
That's right. Now, one other goofy thing about this, which just, I don't understand this either. Well, actually, I do. I got to stop saying that. There's two places you can go to get these, to get documents about what's going to happen at the weekly business session or what did happen. There's the one where almost everybody goes. It used to be a calendar. Can't have a calendar anymore. Why? New IT director doesn't like the calendar, I guess. So you can't just click on it. You go where Mike was saying, okay, agendas and minutes. You would think agendas and minutes. That makes sense. I know what agenda means. And you go click on that and you'll see just the first page. Just the first page where all the other attachments to it. Now you have to go to a page which has almost the same title. It's in another section and you have to go search for it. And when you click on the same underline,
oh, geez.
Now it's what you're actually looking for. And that's where you find things like a black map with black writing over with a black legend, and you can't tell what the heck's happening because the whole thing is just black. That's our famous transparency in Josephine County. You're being too critical of them, Mr. Matthews. Do you like the fact that $94,000 is going to be spent on this and you don't know why, and then don't want to explain it to you? And they're saying that we don't have enough money for juvenile justice and the sheriff, but we're going to spend this money on something they refuse to explain to you because we've done it in the past. And by the way, it's only $3,034. No. Let's see more.
And it could be a different grant. I don't have.
That's just this grant, this particular one. When you calculate the amount of money we're receiving, the amount of money we have to put in, the difference between the 97 and the 93.
No, what's that? What the difference between the 97 and the 93?
Dale, come on. It's the difference between the 97 and the 93. Don't you know?
Mike, what's the difference between 97 and 93?
I got to drag this guy along all the time. And
$4,000.
Come on. Don't embarrass yourself
93
by
is
saying stuff like that.
You know,
yes,
where does 97 come
to
from?
Be technically accurate about it.
There's no 97.
No,
so
I'm telling you. You know
what I did for you guys. You know what I did.
After,
I went to the document and I searched for 97. There's no 97 anywhere in the document. Where's she making this up from? 97?
Yes. Clearly, and this ought to be totally clear to everybody. Cheryl was not qualified to be voting on this grant.
I don't think
not at all. She didn't know what she was voting on.
Right.
Yeah, Keith, and it's entirely possible that that Simon wasn't just being nice to Cheryl, and he didn't know either. That is really scary.
Guys.
Three guys don't know what the county's going to be. Either that or they're so scared of opposing Cheryl in any way, which should scare all of us if that's what's really going on, that they're too scared to say something to Cheryl, which might make her mad at them. I mean, that is really scary.
When I said in the meeting, don't misquote me, that's not right. She just said, you were anywhere else, why, you'd be escorted from the room. Really? For quoting you? This is where we are, you guys. This is not some tinfoil hat club. You're watching it right here. What did she just say? All in one meeting. Within, this whole clip, this whole thing was only like about 4 minutes long. I mean, we're dividing it up and talking about it, but that's crazy. I mean, really, when you get down to such specific numbers and $27.
But wait,
based on what? But wait, there's more?
There's more.
Oh, okay.
I don't have my computer's updating right now. There's 95 updates.
Yeah.
So I can't.
But you're correct. Many of the matches are in emergency management are closer to 50%. This particular one is not.
It's not?
This one is not.
Many are closer to 50%, but this one is not.
She believes that they're going to be spending $3,000 and getting 97,000 or something like that back. This
94,370.
Yeah, whatever. Hey, you don't need to be specific, Dale.
Well, she's not being. 93,715. That's a hell of a deal.
I was a lot closer than she was.
Yes, you were.
You gotta give me a break.
This is a 50% cash match. She just said, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Cheryl.
Yeah.
Yes, they often are, but not this one.
She didn't know, and neither did Simon.
Now, here's the big point. Here's the big point. Ready for the big point, Mike?
Yeah, sure.
They're signing this. They're not signing any document that says $3,000 something and $27.
Right.
They're signing this document. This document that says we commit ourselves to 93,000.
They already did sign it months ago.
Well, that's what he says.
You heard him making the clarification about that. For crying out loud, they signed it months ago, and they don't know. They don't know what this is.
Here's what they've obligated you to. They've obligated you to paying out of our general fund $93,715, and Cheryl thinks that she's obligated you for $3,000 something and $27, but they already signed it.
Right.
That's not good contract negotiation, is it?
Well,
even if it's for a wonderful project. Go ahead.
Right. And that's the point I was going to make there.
Oh.
And I think there's like 38 seconds left. What more could possibly happen?
A little more blather. Go ahead.
Let's find out.
We are having to use more general fund dollars for our emergency services. because Title III 2008 monies have been expired. We've used them. We've been very diligent in keeping those kind of in reserve because they're the
Keith is
they have
at
the most
home in the
discretion.
bathtub.
Prior to 2008, they were basically given to the county without many strings attached. Since then, Title III dollars are heavily restricted and not able to be used as match funds for emergency management or search and rescue.
Search and rescue.
Which all of that was completely meaningless and had almost no connection to this particular thing.
Where'd search and rescue get into this? That's why I had to include that little part. 3 words.
Well,
rescue.
Yes. Well,
that's
97,000. Right. Yes, 97,000.
$5.
Yeah. Dale, it's the difference between the 93 and the 97. Come on. Jeez.
97 minus 93 is not 3.
Hey. Quit trying to split hairs here, for crying out loud.
Oh, he split already. Okay, look. No, it's not true that we're all morons. Thank you very much to the county clerk. And it doesn't mean that you have to be running down the road with your hands up in the air and your hair flying like our previous treasurer. Certifiable. Okay, this guy, he actually did that. What are you doing? He's running down the middle of the street. Okay, it doesn't mean we all have to panic. But I want to know how the money's being spent. Now, you've said to us many times in the past, follow the money. Now we get a chance to follow the money. Here's your chance to see what happened. We can't follow the money when they keep giving us different numbers. And they signed a contract with the federal government through the state to obligate us to $94,000, $93,715.
And they just
thinks, go ahead.
And they just voted on something that they don't have any idea what they're actually spending. And these people are up for re-election.
Yes, they are.
So I would hope that is a fact that would weigh heavily, because if they're not paying the attention to the specifics on this, what else are they not paying any attention to?
Well, you could say some people, it's $5,000 is a lot of money to me. Okay, that would hold me for a year of extra. Oh no, it would for extra spending.
Dale rarely eats.
That's you can kind of tell. Okay, that's why I sit down here like this, like a rabbit. Look, the point is that because I'm spending my money on this stuff, you guys already know that. Big deal. Okay, la 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 la. Okay, whatever. Anyway, it's my social responsibility to make up for past sins. I don't have any. Anyway. So this is my biggest sin. I drink this stuff. It's sure water. Stop it. Anyway, it fills me up with gas. You already knew that. What we need to do is we always need to watch what they're doing and follow the money. We have a chance to do that here. Now, you guys know they don't know what they signed. They couldn't have read this thing and come up with these numbers. And in my personal opinion, Cheryl Walker is whacked out of her mind. She doesn't know what she's saying. She's making up numbers with specificity and $27 that are mathematically impossible in this document. If there's another document, show us the other document. More than 20 pages? Well, maybe. But what's it going to be spent on? What are we going to do with it? Don't run down the road saying, the military, just shut up, okay? It's not about that. It's about, are they managing your money correctly? We haven't been able to get them to tell how much money is being spent on stuff for years. Come up all the time, and I'm sitting in the audience going like this, which means how much money is this going to cost us? They don't like to answer that. So now we're asking, and they're like, those stupid citizens. They want to know why. We've done this all the time. Is past performance of putting money into bad things a good predictor of the future? Yes. Yes, it is. So you do have a choice coming up here pretty soon. Keith says he's going to run. There you go. Okay. And I'm going to run. Well, maybe there you don't go, but at least there'll be a yardstick. And Cheryl Walker doesn't look like she's going to run yet. She could change her mind. Simon Hare, Cheryl Walker, and Keith Hick, just from this one meeting alone, they all need to be marginalized. They all need to be shifted off to the old folks home or whatever you want to call it. Not everybody in a retirement home is old folks, but they need to be shifted off there because they don't know what's going on. And we need to put people in there that are going to be responsible with spending your money. That's a radical idea in this county. Mike, you want to bring her home? I mean, Cheryl.
See you later.
Yes, right.
No, she's not coming to my house.